Sometimes the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And here's your host, Ben Adelberg.
And welcome to the back of the range. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 226. Kicking off another week here at the back of the range that will bring you multiple episodes. Again, trying to get to that magic number of 250 before the end of the year. Special thanks to former guest and friend of the pod, Stuart Hagestad, for sending me a text this morning that read, "You have lots of work to do to get to 250. Can't thank him enough for pointing out the obvious. My guests on this episode are the co-hosts of the Clubs and Corks Golf Podcast. Luke Taylor and Ben Curtis were kind enough to have me on their podcast as a guest to talk about the back of the range, so I wanted to make sure to return the favor and have them join me here on my podcast. How does a wine distributor in Ohio get linked up with the 2003 Open champion Ben Curtis and then end up starting a podcast together? Definitely had to dive into that one. We spoke about what they're doing at Clubs and Corks, some of the guests that they've had on the podcast, like Jason Day, Jason Kokrak, Tom Doak. I also talked to Ben about his career, why he decided to retire from professional golf, what he's doing now, and I think Luke and I might have been able to convince him to play in at least one more Open Championship before he turned 60. Maybe. Make sure you check out the show notes of this episode. That's where I have links to Clubs and Corks, links to the back of the range. You can follow on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So make sure you check out the show notes and leave a review in Apple Podcasts, not just for the back of the range, but also Clubs and Corks. I think you'll really enjoy that podcast. They have a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun in our conversation. Let's get to this episode. Luke, Ben, thanks so much for joining me here at the back of the range. How are you?
Ben, thanks for having us on. We really look forward to this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So Luke, you were rubbing your eyes. Are you overcome with emotion that you were a guest here at the back of the range? Describe your feelings right now.
I really don't know how to describe them right now.
Cool.
Just
all right.
Overjoyed with excitement.
Okay. Back to you, Ben. I see that you're going to be the driving force in this episode here.
He doesn't have his driver's license.
Okay, perfect. So we have Luke Taylor, Ben Curtis. You guys are the co-hosts of Clubs and Corks Golf Podcast, available Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You also have a video complement to this endeavor, which, life's about choices, and I see what you've done there. So,
yeah, we're definitely the odd couple on the camera there.
Well, they say that the video, the camera adds 10 pounds. I don't know how you can add 10 more pounds to me, so whatever.
But it's a lot of fun, and we have a lot of great guests. We had you on a few weeks ago, and so it's been great.
Well, I want to ask this question. So, let's just start off right here. How did you two meet? And then, I guess more importantly, Luke, what incriminating photographs or hidden camera footage do you have of Ben Curtis to the point where he says, "Yeah, I'll do a podcast with you"? I mean, how did this whole thing start?
We met over wine. We have a mutual friend, and Ben's a big wine lover like myself. I do it for a living. Well, I guess you do too. You've got your wine label.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a living.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously
it's
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like little white balls for a living. But so we met, and then I remember it was actually like November this time. I was cleaning leaves because that's what we do in Ohio. We clean leaves like out of our gutters and stuff. I don't know if you guys have leaves where you come from, but we have leaves. And I got this freaking brilliant idea, and I texted him. He's like, "Yeah, we'll talk about it," and the rest is history. So it's been interesting because he's very, he's obviously been there, done that. He's won a couple tournaments. He actually, it's funny. I knew he won, obviously, the British Open and a couple other tournaments, but I didn't know how good he was as an amateur. I knew he was good in college.
Ohio State Amateur Championships. Not that I do.
Yeah, but you were also a semifinalist in the USAM too, right?
99.
Yeah.
99. Yeah.
So there you go.
Who won that, by the way, Ben? Is that
that was David he beat me in the semis too.
Okay, and then did he? I can't remember who he beat. That wasn't Wittenberg, was it?
No, it was
we can
an Asian kid. I can't think of his name.
Oh, but don't you have to be from America? Why can't you should be from America to play in it. And I'm Canadian, so I can say that.
Well,
I don't think you have to. No,
you-
because you could play the
No, you
British.
don't.
I could go. You could play the Canadian AM. You could do all that.
He beat Kim Sung Yoon 9-8.
Yeah,
That's
him.
that's a short day.
It was quick.
That's a short day.
Barely 27 holes.
I mean, that's a Stephen Ames Tiger Woods situation right there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That one was the best. All right, so you guys agree to kind of let's launch this now. I've you guys are I think around 40, 50 episodes. I'm a little bit ahead of you, but I have plenty of just moments where I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Or the microphone clicks out, or I've multiple times gotten the time zones confused with where I'm at. Yeah.
Hey, Ben, that's my daily life. What the hell am I doing? I don't know about you.
Okay.
It's not just the podcast.
But I've had that with like, screwing up the time zone with my guest or the day. I'm calling them like, man, they're not, I don't know why they're answering. And then I realize, oh my God, tomorrow we're supposed to be doing this. That's happened multiple times.
We haven't done that yet.
You haven't done that? Okay. So
no, we've had more issues with like Zoom or over the, getting the microphones working. We could hear them. They can't hear us. They just see us. We can't see them.
Just ask Jason Day what he thinks.
Yeah, just.
Oh yeah, give me. Okay, so you
like those minor things that okay, we only got an hour with this person.
Or they froze. The best is like we're talking to them and they're just frozen, like Tom Doak.
And as you know, the whole time you're just thinking, I hope this records, right? Hopefully it picked it up, and every time we end one and we hit the download button or end the session, and we just hope that it starts to download. But
unbelievable.
It's a lot of fun, and it's really unique and different. We had Jason Day looking at us for an hour, him and I texting back and forth, basically, calling us every name in the book. And he's like, I got up at 5 a.m. my time for this.
Oh my God.
He was out on the West Coast, but it's definitely fun and unique. We try to add as much wine to it as we can. It seems like it always goes towards golf, but that's okay. Yeah. I want to talk more wine. He wants to talk more golf. So
we've talked some wine. Chris DeMarco, we talked about wine.
We did get Chris DeMarco to open up.
Maybe if you get some guests like Retief Goosen and Ernie Els, get out your Rolodex and
that's
get
your
wine.
business, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know them.
No.
Exactly. Oh, you're looking at me.
But I'm not
couple.
blaming you. I'm just saying.
I feel like a little bit of blame right now.
No, but I'm just saying how it.
Did you piss off Candace this morning? You started to piss me off.
But
sorry.
It gets more towards golf, which is fine, which is all good. But
but it connects you to what you did well in, right? I mean, you kind of enjoy that. I see you gleam when you're starting to talk stories to whether it's Mike Weir or Ricky Elliott, your old caddy, who's Brooke Koepka's caddy now, and different stuff like that. Chad Campbell, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, you don't talk about it every day when you're home and somewhat, I guess, retired, but you don't really talk about it, right? You don't really sit around. Oh,
your wife and you don't relive the glory days.
Not really. Not too much. Wow. We got kids. We got teenage kids, so you got a lot of, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How did now, Luke? I'll ask you first,
Sorry,
and then Ben,
could
come
you
over
say
to
that
you.
again? My apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, my watch.
Oh, his watch.
I'm like, what? Who's talking to me?
Perfectly on
my watch.
cue. This is perfectly on cue.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
you're good. You're good. It's how many major champions does it take to work an Apple Watch? What happened?
I hit the button.
I understand.
Anyways.
It's fine.
Good job.
Luke, how did you get into wine? I know this is, you're owner of a distributorship, and I know you do a lot of tours of wineries in Sonoma and Napa. I mean, this is really, and also you're a host of your own wine podcast, Cork and Taylor. So how did you actually get into wine? Is it more of a family, family passion? Did someone get you in, a relative? How did you get into wine?
So my dad was a big wine collector, and then he had some health issues. So I've never seen my dad drink. When I'm 45 years old.
Really?
So, but I know he had some really phenomenal wines, and my dad doesn't share much about anything, so he doesn't really talk. But one time he was telling me about it. And then also my grandfather used to distribute wine into the Caribbean in one of his businesses, imported wine. But I was big in tennis and basketball growing up, and obviously tennis is such an international game. You play people from Spain, and you have teammates from all over the world. And when I graduated college, I went with my best friend, who's probably one of the top chefs in Toronto. Not probably, he is one of the top chefs in Toronto. And we were
the top eater in Toronto.
I used to be skinny when I lived in Toronto. Thank you. Married.
I had to put that.
Yeah, that's kind of hurtful. See how he treats me. I always wonder when we get his other caddy, Andy, because I asked kind of Ricky how he treated him. He said he was okay. So we'll see how this goes. But so we went to Europe for 6 weeks, and I just got the itch, and then became the men's tennis coach at DePaul in Chicago, and I was a regular at the wine shop, just trying different stuff, and then owned a couple indoor tennis clubs and got out of it and started. Actually, I was in television for 3 years, believe it or not, television, radio. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I do for a living, I guess, supposedly. And play bad golf according to Ben.
Well, and Ben, you're traveling all over the world playing on the PGA Tour, so I'm guessing it's pretty easy to figure out at some point after a round you're sharing a dinner table with someone, and a bottle gets opened up. But do you remember maybe a couple players that got you into it, or maybe because wine to me it's the moon, trying to discover and navigate. I would not know what color. What bottle of wine to order with what dish.
What color?
I know. See, there you go. I have no idea.
Well, it's red or white.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, but that's what I'm saying. I have no idea. So, how did you? What are some of the guys on tour that got you into it?
Well, it's funny because mostly it was my wife drinking. She would have wine almost every meal. I didn't drink a lot early in my career,
but a lot of guys didn't, right? That's what you were saying.
And then, but we, had some good friends, Freddie Jakobsen and Erica. They were probably the two biggest. They were our best friends, and down in Florida when we lived in Jupiter, we'd hang out with them, and they'd always try to get me to drink wine, and I'd have a couple sips or half a glass, and just didn't really like it. And then, but then Candace kept pursuing it, right? She kept going at it and drinking it every night. When we're on the road,
just every night.
Not every night, but when we're out with friends, you're on the road, and she'd have a glass or two, and you're just like, oh. So I kept trying it, and then finally, I just had a bottle. I'm like, oh, this is really good, and then it just exploded from there. And later, John Rollins and I would, hence why I'm retired. He's still fighting, trying to play a little bit here and there, but he's, we'd end up at the wine bar or at some tasting room somewhere or some restaurant because they had a really good list. We end up there just because of the wine. But
was that during the tournament or after you missed the cut?
Mostly all week. Yeah. So
okay, so I think
that was
we're figuring out what was what caused the retirement, I guess. All right, cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't too bad. It was pretty good. I mean, but I was pretty disciplined. I'd have maybe a glass or nothing where I felt like it would be detrimental to. Now, if I played bad, that might have been a different score. You shoot a 75 or 6, and your game's not good. You're like, I'll just have a few and see what happens. Yeah. But and to be honest, I was never that. It's still not. I mean, just a glass or two here and there, and I don't go crazy, every now and then. But
except for Wednesday nights, right?
The headaches get worse and worse, so I find myself drinking less and less.
But we had Chris DeMarco recently, and he was saying how much the seniors, like every time you see him in the clubhouse, and they'd have dinner and stuff, and they always have wine.
Yeah.
So it's more prevalent, it sounds like, in the senior tour.
Yeah, I mean.
That's why you should play the senior tour.
4 years, 4.5
years.
Is that why? I mean, that's got to be why you're gonna get your game sharp when you
whatever.
50, right? No,
don't even waste your time. Well, I've tried.
Yeah,
it's hopeless. I've tried everything.
More coffee and more wine. It just does your game really well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look how well Mike Weir's doing right now on the senior tour.
Yeah.
I drink wine with him when he was in town.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Unbelievable. So I mean, so Ben, you guys were guests on my podcast, and we spoke about the focus of what the back of the range is, which is amateur and collegiate golf.
Right.
You guys have a wide variety. You've had, like you said, you've had pros, you've had designers, coaches, and Ben, I'm guessing that you've been asked every single question imaginable after a great round or a win or probably even a poor round. I mean, what's it like for you to actually be on this side of the table asking questions to? I mean, it's got to be just like, oh my God, I sound like what those media people? Oh my gosh, I'm one of those now. I mean, does that run through your head at all?
A little bit, yeah. You just like, I'm sure I asked so many dumb questions. It's like,
I don't think they're dumb.
I've got asked a lot of dumb questions. What were you thinking on that?
Yeah, of course, right.
I wasn't thinking about hitting my 6-iron into the water and lose, making double, but it happened, but you just, try to be fair. I didn't have any situations where I felt like, that was just awful, but, hopefully in return to, the people that we're interviewing, that we just keep it fun and, we just want them to open up, talk a little bit about their life, their career, and have some fun while we're doing it, but also ask some serious questions if we can. But it is unique, and it's a lot harder than you think to come up with a question, right? I mean, yeah. See, Luke's over here; he's got all the great questions, right? But
yeah, I think he's more worried about what's coming out of my mouth than anything.
No, I don't care. I mean, but I don't want to say anything that's controversial.
No, but we don't. But I mean, the thing, one of the reasons why I enjoy doing it with him is he's been there and done that. So a lot of these guys are going to open up a little bit more than if it was you and I, Ben, doing it. Because they maybe have a history with them, or they did a practice round, or they played Ryder Cup with them, or I know some of these guys that we've gotten personally, and it's just, I think he knows what they're going through, which not many people do. So I think it's kind of unique, and like, he's not going to ask a question that maybe he got 20 years ago that was a stupid question, like, what were you thinking? I mean,
well, and like what Luke said, I really enjoyed, like, we had Tom Doak, Bob Vokey, and
Tom Doak.
We had, in yourself, we have guys that weren't necessarily, my playing partners or my enemies and competitors. It was, people outside of it that are doing different things, like what you're doing with junior golf, amateur golf. And, that really intrigues me, and like, Vokey with the wedges and stuff he went through, and the course designers. We've had a couple of them. Michael Hurston, a couple college coaches, just asking questions like caddies, like, what do you, what's it like working for these guys, or what's it like being a coach, and what type of player are you looking for? Just, that stuff really intrigues me, more so. I mean, I know how Jason Day is going to hit an 8-iron, right? He's going to hit it high and far, right? I mean,
but I don't know that.
Yeah. But, he's going to hit it somewhere around 160, 175, somewhere in that range. And, so to me, that's not boring, but, when we're talking to, like you said, Chris DeMarco, or getting them to talk about stuff off the course, which is kind of.
And his wife joined us too.
She just jumped on the couch with him and started,
come on in, we'll talk.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun and unique and different that I like.
I had Jimmy Walker's wife on the podcast, and that was very, very interesting. And I think there's one area that I definitely would like to dive into a little bit more, is having more wives, girlfriends, whatever, of PGA Tour players, because that's a whole different, maybe not at the same time, maybe not the wife and the girlfriend.
Get their wife and the girlfriend at the same time. That'd be fun.
Maybe not that. But,
surprise.
Yeah. And our guest this week. No.
I'm not going to say it. I was going to say somebody, but I'm not going to say it.
No, probably shouldn't. So but I think that would be very interesting, because that's a whole other world. Just dealing with. Now, Luke, what kind of episodes, is there a bucket list or a kind of a wish list of guests that you would like to have on Clubs and Corks?
You know what? To be honest with you, when we first started, maybe there's a couple. I mean, I'd love to have Rory McIlroy. I'm a big fan of him. Ricky Fowler too, big fans of them. I think every guest we've had has been unique. I mean, we've got some coming up, you know, we've got a coach that is a fellow Canadian. I'm not going to say who it is because, well, should I say it? Maybe not. Sean Foley. We got Sean Foley coming up on our podcast. Nice. And the funny thing with him is he's from the next door neighbor, I guess the town beside mine, growing up in Canada. And then we've got some other ones, just like the guy that invented the Robert Trent Jones Trail in Alabama. So I'd love to have Ian Poulter just to talk shit and hear what he says. But yeah, I think we've got I like the range of guests. I think it's also, you know, it's funny, we tried to go to the memorial down in Columbus to get some interviews. And I think out of the 12 guys Ben supposedly asked, let's be honest, probably 2. But only one said yes. And he had like a 20-minute window, Chase Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just it's like we talked about in our podcast. It's just hard to get them. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach Johnson said yes to us in February, and we're in November, and we still haven't got Zach Johnson. Zach Johnson, if you're listening.
Yeah. Well, he called me earlier, so he knew I was going to have you guys on. So, but no, yeah, it is. It's a challenge. But I mean, Ben, like, you know what it's like for these guys when they're on tour and they're moving around. There's so many people asking for their time and just trying to, and you like, at least my perspective is you don't want to just try and get 20, 30 minutes because you know you don't have their attention. They're thinking about 30, 40 other different things. And, oh, by the way, they need to actually go play some good golf that day. So, yeah, it is a challenge to get them, especially during a tournament week.
Yeah, I think, you know, when they're at home, they're going to relax a little bit. They have maybe a little bit more time. You know, like you said, when they're on the road, they're at the Memorial, for example, or something. They're thinking about, okay, I got to meet my coach in 20 minutes, or you know, I got a practice round, or I got, you know, dinner plans, or like whatever.
Or like Jason Kokrak, he didn't want to leave.
Yeah,
remember when he was off season? They had to like literally kick him out of the.
Yeah. But like, so it's what it's saying. You get them, you get them off week, and they got the time and the energy to put into it.
We just got to figure out which their off week is.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I can't tell you how many times I've checked, basically checked the tee sheet of a PGA Tour event. I'm like, shit, no, he's working this week. All right, we'll try again next week. All the time.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But I think that would be like with anything, right? Like we had a couple guests that, you know, they just like designers or, you know, teachers and coaches, right? You know, and you just got to find that time. It's no different, you know, for those guys, you want them when they're home or in their office, right? So, but then they're getting get pulled 100 ways too. So,
remember how tough it was to get Ricky Elliott?
Yeah,
because of just his demands with, you know, working.
Yeah,
and the same with Sean Foley. He's like, well, I've got to go to Mexico this week. Must be nice.
Yeah. What now? I know something that obviously, Ben, you're most known for winning the 03 Open Championship at Royal St. George's, and I have a couple questions to ask you about that. But Luke, I know that you guys do, I guess, you know, outings where you bring the Claret Jug. I think you've done, you know, further explain what you've done. I know it's kind of like a wine and maybe a Q&A session. Talk to me about some of those sessions that you've done, and then Luke, I guess my question is, you know, you're around Ben all the time. You've seen the Claret Jug, I'm guessing, numerous times. It's probably
I'm touching it right now.
There you go. So I guess when you see the look on other people's faces when they meet Ben for the first time or see the Claret Jug for the first time, to you, it's old hat, but it must be for you, and obviously for Ben, but for you, that's got to be pretty interesting to see when just, you know, casual golf fans or just random people get to hold or have their picture taken with the Claret Jug.
I'd wish the random fans would hold me, but whatever. Yeah, you know what? It's really cool. I mean, I remember Ben and his wife have the Ben Curtis Family Foundation. They did a British Open watch party.
Yeah,
that was fun. My wife Melissa and I went, and we're you know, we've gone out the 4 of us for dinner and stuff like that. And it was the first time Melissa saw, and Melissa's like, she wanted a photo with the 3 of us in the Claret Jug. I'm like, I don't want to take a photo with Ben Curtis in the Claret Jug. She's like, come on. And then he signed it too. I'm like, all right, whatever. But I think it's really neat. And, you know, Ben is real quiet. She's just quiet, but just a good dude. And I think it's I mean, this is a real deal, the Claret Jug. I mean, you look at it and you see all the names, and it's really remarkable. But yeah, we were supposed to have one this past week, but due to some health issues and scares, we're going to reschedule in February. So kind of the concept is we do a live podcast, and then we do probably like a 35, 45 minutes, just him and I bantering, and then bring the Claret Jug, and it just sits there, and people can obviously take photos and stuff after. But then we do a question and answer, and it's just real lively. We'll have a couple, probably a couple country clubs I sell wine to, and we know real well, and a brewery, a sibling Revelry brewery. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. People like it. People like seeing them. People like seeing the champ and the chump.
I sometimes think they like the trophy more than me. So.
Yeah,
but
I do. I like you most days. Bernice doesn't talk back to me.
I mean, it is the most, I guess it's the most portable. It has to be. It's the most, I mean, I guess the green jacket, but you really technically.
Well, you don't get,
right. Exactly.
You don't get the green jacket.
Right,
after a year, they take it back.
Exactly.
Ask Hideki about that when he looked like he lost his puppy when I told him that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess unless you're Gary Player, I think he has one of them in South Africa, I believe. But, I mean, it's the most portable major championship trophy in history. I mean, this is the one that I mean, can't take the Wanamaker anywhere without getting.
No, can you imagine? Can you imagine taking the Wanamaker around, like having it in the back of our set? We'd have to have a twice as big ledge.
Yeah. I mean, this is. I mean, if you got to pick one to win, I'm guessing for a lifetime, this is the one.
It's cheaper than the Wanamaker.
Well, yes, less silver. Yeah.
What did you call it before the Claret Jug? Before we called it Bernice, or I called it Bernice.
It was the Jug.
Yeah, I know the Bernice.
But yeah, it's of all the four that you could, the majors, it's probably the most known, other than Augusta. Yeah. I mean, those two are right there. And the trophy is very historic. It's the oldest tournament in golf too. So I think it's got a lot going for it. It's other than the Masters, it's probably the most watched event of the year, worldwide, not just U.S. I'm talking worldwide. So it's just so unique and different. Like you say, the Wanamaker and U.S. Open trophy almost look the same.
Yeah,
a lot of ways, because they're so big. They're just big. And this just kind of, it's the right size. I think it has it's the right size. It's
easy to get around, right?
Yeah. It's the right size. It's got a really cool look to it, and Augusta, obviously, with the green jacket, it kind of stands out as well.
How did I know that phrase? That comes out every time someone wins a major. Or even a PJ Tour event. It's that well-used phrase of their life is going to change overnight, and I'm guessing that happened with you. And once all the parties subside and the appearances and the demands on your time, at some point, back in 2004, 2005, you got to kind of put that jug back on the shelf and get to work, because still it is a job. And I know you had a couple lean years right after the win. Everyone talks about all the great things that happen after you win a major. You get the exemptions and all that, the money and the endorsements, all that stuff. But like, what were those 2 years like for you after winning the Open? How challenging were those 2 years? Because it's not like you forgot how to play golf. You just won a major champion. It's not like, what were those 2 years like as for someone that has no idea, on the inner workings of, winning a major and
it was a big blur, to be honest with you. It went by so fast, and there was so much going on, traveling the world, playing in all these different places, and, never really had time to really sit back and, kind of reminisce and reflect. It was kind of like just on the go for 2 straight years. But that comes with the territory. Like, that was something that I wasn't used to yet or hadn't been a part of. So that was definitely something to get used to. But, just for example, like, the next event that I played was the Buick Open up in Michigan. And I hadn't touched a club since the Open. And I show up on Wednesday morning to play in the Pro-Am. So I hadn't touched a club. I get out there and play, and I actually played really well on Thursday. I had the lead after, like, I shot 5 under or something. Didn't have the lead, but it was close. And then it was just it all caught up to me right there. The tiredness. I was in New York for 3 days and DC for 2, and between the events and trying to come home and see the family, and that it was just so that was just the first couple of weeks. And then obviously being around here in a small town, it's everywhere you went, just trying to go get groceries or going out to eat, it was kind of a challenge. And it's difficult, right? If you're not used to it. I always tell people I wish I would have won another event before that, but obviously, you can't be choosers, right? So, and it just took a couple of years to really get used to it. And just dealing with, the week, before, I showed up at the Open, for example, show up. I just played my practice round, did a couple interviews here and there, but nothing too dramatic. To all of a sudden now you got a press conference every week. You got all these other interviews that you need to do or getting asked to do. And then you got sponsor stuff that comes up, at the event that, dinners and to other functions.
All things that will adversely affect your ability to do what you just did the previous week.
Right. Yeah. So it just takes a while to get used to it. And then, you hear the rumblings and, you finally just have to kind of put that behind you and say, Herb Page, he just kind of said, you know what, just be Ben Curtis. Don't worry about trying to be somebody that you're not. And, and that's, what I try to tell all with the academy, at least too, is that's what I try to tell the kids, you're not me. Don't try to be me, be you, and know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And I think, over the long period of the time, the tour, the guys are so good that your weaknesses will really show up, right? And your strengths will be out there as well, but you really notice where your weaknesses are in your game. And so, I hadn't had that. I only had 15 tournaments or so under my belt before that. So there wasn't a lot of data, there wasn't a lot of data out there, so to speak, to really figure out where my weaknesses was compared to everybody else, right? That's out there. And, you want a course of a couple of years to really figure it out. Okay, where can I do to improve? And so there was a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of linking back and kind of thinking about that. You came out, I think you were 24 when you won the Open?
26.
26.
Damn, you were old.
And I'm just kind of thinking that it's almost reminiscent to what it is today with these young guys coming up and winning immediately. I mean, this is kind of a, I'm sure you get your name thrown into a conversation with Morikawa all the time. You guys at that age, just, winning. See what I did there? Hurt the ceiling.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Well, you heard it here.
I'm being serious, actually.
But no, I'm just thinking about it. Like, there's just none of that. I guess there's just none of that scar tissue and none of the. I mean, you just go in like, it's another tournament. Oh, by the way, I just won at the end. How about that? So that works out real nice.
Well, your caddy didn't even know who you were before the tournament, right? The British Open.
Well, he was an English caddy, and it wasn't well known on the tour. Like, it doesn't matter. Like you were mentioning before, where it was ranked really high at amateur golf. Coming into when I turned pro, but that doesn't. After a year, no one knows who that is. Who that was. They just maybe know who it is now, or who's the number one player is at the time. But so you kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit. And, obviously he was a European caddy, so he's not going to be paying attention to what's going on in the amateur golf in the U.S.
I bet he was paying attention afterwards when it's time to caddy. Oh, yeah.
His little caddy, Andy, probably doesn't listen to the back of the range.
Well, come on now.
He doesn't. He probably doesn't listen to anything golf.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Luke, if you had your chance to have a media credential for the 03 Open Championship or the 08 Ryder Cup, and you were assigned to a young Ben Curtis, which one would you rather be at? You only can pick one, but you get to cover one of those events.
Well, I don't think they would let me back into England, so that would be out. And then Kentucky, maybe. British Open. I mean, my mom's from England. Yeah, my mom's from England. So, I mean, that's and I've got a whole bunch of family over there. I mean, when I was growing up in Canada, to me, the Open is everything. I mean, it's bigger than the Masters. It's bigger than the PGA. I mean, like if Ben won and like the Masters or the PGA or the US Open, we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast. Let's be honest. Just saying.
Wow.
Throwing it out there.
That's strong words. I would have picked. I mean, I love the Open Championship, and I've been to Scotland, and played Carnoustie, played the old course. I would love to be there for that. I'm actually really excited to be going to the Walker Cup in 23 at the old course. I can't wait for that. But
I was supposed to go to the British Open next year with Ben, but he's not going. At St. Andrews.
Now Ben, you get to
just throwing it out there.
Ben, you get to play. Am I correct? I believe this is correct. You can play in any Open Championship as a past champion, I believe, till the age of 60. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
15 more years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to put you on the spot, but is it?
No.
It's not in the realm of possibility as of right now, or
as of now.
But do you want me to answer it or him? I can tell you. It's
Luke. Yeah, Luke.
It's a 98% no, 2% yes. It used to be 4.1%, but it's dropping by the day. I told him he needs to go just so because Liam's becoming a real good player. Liam's a freshman, his oldest child and only son, freshman in high school. I'm like, he needs to see that. Like he needs to experience from your angle. And who cares if he's shooting 86? I'll still cheer for you. If you let me,
okay.
Let me go.
So Ben, I mean, this seems not to pile on, but this seems like a very lucid concept here. Go play a major championship so your son could be on the bag for you.
No, I'm on the bag.
Yeah.
Oh, now I understand why you don't want to do it.
That's why. That's why. No, right?
Oh, okay. No,
I
thought we were going with like a Marco Mira kind of thing, or a Lee Westwood.
Wouldn't carry your bag, would he?
I'm gonna just text Luke on like Thursday morning the Open. Oh, by the way, I'm teeing off in 5 minutes. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That
would be.
I won't even let you know.
I will run to you like that last piece of cake in the fridge. I will get there.
That would be great. Just smuggle yourself out of the country and just hop on a PJ just in the dark of night, and then. I could. Oh, that'd be so great. Luke's just tuning in, watching it, and then all of a sudden they hear game 38. He's like, "What the?"
On the tee.
Would
USA?
Would Liam caddy for you though? Would he carry your bag?
Oh yeah.
Do you think he'd carry for 18 holes without complaining?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
As long as you feed him. That boy likes to eat, and he's tiny.
Yeah.
That boy eats more than me.
He does.
He's a lot. He's given his foundation the Claret Jug or the British Open brunch. I mean, this kid went up for like 6 servings. He's a hoss.
Yeah,
so it sounds to me that there is a legitimate possibility if your son caddied for you would do it. I mean.
Yeah, I think still a year or two away yet.
Yeah.
You heard it here on the back of the range. A year or two. And his college coach Herbie Page. You got to get him on the podcast. He's a hoot. He's trying to work on him. He told me, didn't he already buy his he's got his hotel reserved for next year or something crazy? He probably does. He's Canadian.
Yeah. So Ben, I mean, just to kind of add on this, I'm glad that Luke is okay being the second banana on this episode. But Luke,
I don't care.
Luke, when you win a major championship, we'll start piling on the questions towards you. But
who says I haven't? I win a major championship in life every day. I've got 20 of them.
Oh my God. Anyway, so Ben, you see a lot of guys that are still on tour in their 40s, and some of them actually dropped down to the Corn Ferry Tour. What kind of sparked your decision to kind of to retire from competitive golf, go in a different direction? I mean, I'm sure the foundation and the academy, and also the podcast, I'm guessing everything keeps you incredibly busy. But was there kind of a thought process of like, I think this is the direction I want to go. I just don't want to do this anymore. What kind of was that process?
It was a long process. It was a couple of years, to be honest. And, a lot of bad golf really, really made the decision pretty easy. But when you're out there and you're spending way more than you're ever making, anybody with the right mind will know that the best decision would be to walk away. But it took a while. I mean, it's hard. I mean, that's all I've known. That's all I've done. And, the biggest thing for me, was the kids, the family, and then also just like I came home, I maybe have 2 weeks knowing my next event, I would hardly practice, and if I didn't put 100% into it. I was only putting a quarter, 25% of my effort into it. I had all full intention to go do what I needed to do. And then I get there and just, the love or whatever of playing and practicing and just kind of fell off. And so, if you're not willing to practice the 8, 6, 10 footers that you need to, and, the short game and, all the hitting and stuff, wedge game, if you're not willing to do that, then, you're going to see it on the competition. Now, the competition part of it, I still love, right? I mean, it's still, even when I was playing bad, I was still up to go play. But, it just when you don't prepare and you're playing the courses and against that competition, you're not going to do well.
I think it's also, I've been into a couple Champions Tour events, and yeah, they're the huge names. There's the Longers and the Freddie and now Furyk and obviously now Mickelson. You see these guys very competitive, but then I've also seen a lot of guys. I'm not going to mention their names, but I've just seen them, on the putting green or on the range or obviously even playing, and I can't honestly say that it looks like they're having a whole hell of a lot of fun. I mean, it almost looks like they're there because I don't know how to do anything else. And this is still a job. I can't retire. And I look at that. I was like, man, I don't think that looks like too much fun. And I guess people on the outside keep forgetting that it is a job. I mean, it's a job. Not every single player that goes in and plays in the PGA Tour has the goal of, I want to be the number one player in the world and win multiple majors.
There's, as you can tell, right? You go out there, you can see the guys that you can just see it on their face, the way they're walking, the way they're doing things. But yeah, you're right. It's probably the hardest thing because they've been playing professional golf for 30, 40 years at that point, right? Yeah. And so what they don't know anything else or know anything different. And it's a hard thing to walk away from, knowing that they're still really, really good at what they do, right? It's not like,
yeah, I mean,
it's not like they're just 7 handicap, right? I mean, no, these guys could play good at any given moment, and they're still really good. The top, I call it top 0.25% of the world golf. As much, they're so good at what they do, but yet you're talking one shot here or there, and each round can make a difference. On the PGA Tour, can make a difference of $5 million difference in earnings. I mean, it's crazy.
Truth.
Yeah, like the 200th ranked player on the PGA Tour is going to be looking for a way to get back onto the tour because they're going to lose their card. I mean, number right. 2. I mean, it's crazy. Luke, what's been one of the most interesting things you've learned since doing the Clubs and Corks podcast? As someone that it doesn't have the necessarily the history with the PGA Tour that Ben does. I mean, this is kind of, all seriousness, this got to be an absolutely incredible experience to talking to these players and sitting next to Ben and learning, just different things from inside the ropes. What's been something that you've learned throughout doing this podcast?
I played high levels of tennis and basketball. So to me, I don't think I've ever been starstruck yet. I think they're all humans, and I just think it's amazing just learning more about the demands. Like he says, be times where, I had buddies that were successful on the ATP Tour tennis, and they wouldn't be home for 6, 7, 8 weeks. So I think that's really the most interesting part of it all, and just how people are just real honest and and just real, I guess. And how many Canadians are influencing the PGA Tour? That's what I like about it. Let's be honest. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. He's holding me back. This is what annoys me about him. Let me tell you about him. We got to have Corey Connors and Mackenzie Hughes. What's up with that? Have you ever had them on the back of the range?
I actually did get Corey Connors' cell number and was texting him and was trying to have him on, and it for some reason it just kind of fell through. We had it set up, it didn't happen, and then literally a couple weeks after he wins. I don't know if he wins, but all of a sudden he's off to the races, and that was the end of that. And Just haven't been able to get back in touch with him. But yeah, he's just gone. He's just had a huge rise, and I think, gosh, he shot. What did he shoot the other day at RSM? He shot something really low, and I think I saw a stat where he shot like 62 and didn't make a putt within 8 feet or 5. I mean, it was didn't make a putt outside of 8 feet and still shot 62. It was some crazy stat. Basically, what I'm saying is he was just knocking flags down the entire day. But yeah, incredible. Yes, I was very close, but ultimately did not have him. But I am going to have Nick Flanagan on the podcast very soon. Former U.S. amateur champion from Australia. Is that close enough?
Is he from Kent State?
No, he's not from Kent State.
You know what I love? You know what I'm talking about? Which to the picture. You know what I love is I feel like I always ask him if they played in college why he didn't go to Kent State. I think Ben likes that when I ask that question.
Oh yeah.
I always do. Who did I recently? Chris DeMarco. Yeah. No, it wasn't Chris DeMarco. No, Brittany Lithicombe. I asked her why she didn't go to Kent State.
How'd that go over?
She just laughed. She laughed a lot.
Because she didn't play in college.
No.
She went right to pro.
Yeah.
She just went 17 or 18.
Boom.
Joined the tour.
The LPGA tour.
She qualified right away. So she's one of them phenoms. One of the Rory's. And
oh yeah.
They were too good for college.
Yeah.
So
they couldn't get in.
I want to get you guys out of here with a couple questions at the end that are kind of the fun, quick hit questions that you guys gave me. But I definitely want to ask one final thing to you, Ben, about the 08 Ryder Cup. I know that was really the launch of the pod system. I know Azinger has received a lot of praise for kind of restructuring how we think of a U.S. Ryder Cup team. During that process, during that week, did it hit you that, okay, this is going to be a thing that is going to be talked about for years and years? That it seems like every Ryder Cup that is mentioned, that's really kind of a keystone of when things change, so to speak. Did that register with you during that time, or was that week again just like a blur, and all of a sudden at the end you guys are holding the trophy?
Well, it wasn't such a blur. I mean, it is a crazy week, so there's a lot of stuff that kind of gets pushed back to the memory. But I do remember getting asked even leading up to it, because he was very open about it, and it wasn't like a secret. And I remember we kept getting asked questions and stuff like that. But did we think like it could have went the other way, right? If we would have lost, it would have been like, right? Why was he even thinking that? Yeah. So during that time, you weren't thinking about, okay, is this the future, right, so to speak? But, and obviously not having Tiger there, it was the first time, and, since he's been on tour, that he wasn't involved. So it was definitely a lot different. And, the pressure, I would say, was kind of off of us. But a lot of that was the great part about Paul, right? We took that underdog role, and so to speak. So he pushed that all week. But, the pod thing was a great idea because, for newcomers like myself, it made you feel at ease, right? And even though I qualified and, he was a couple of weeks later going to have his picks, and he was talking to all of us, like, who do you like? Who do you want in your pod? And, who do you feel comfortable with? And, here's my list, so to speak. And so he made everybody feel part of the team. It wasn't like anyone felt like they didn't have influence into what was going on. Even during, like, okay, how's your game? Do you feel more comfortable in this format? Is it better ball or, or alternate shot? What do you feel better with? And so, I think that was the biggest thing with him. And plus you could see he had the passion too, right? So I think, just like Stricker does or did, but just in a little bit different way, maybe not as rah-rah as Azinger was. And, Azinger was very outgoing, very, he was out in the cameras all the time. He wasn't afraid to say things to get the crowd behind us. Stricker was a little, he's a little more subdued, but that's just his personality. So, that was so fun to be a part of. The night before the matches start, it's like 11 o'clock and we're getting ready to go sleep, and boom, Azinger knocks on the door and said, "Hey, downstairs in 5 minutes.
What?
Off we go down to finish up this concert, do a little pep rally for 10 minutes.
Oh, that's right.
And,
That's right. You guys had to go downtown for
Yeah.
the 13th man. I remember that.
right. And then so we marched down there from the hotel and marched back and went back to bed. Got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and up we went. So it wasn't too bad for me because I played in the afternoon. So
There you go.
I didn't have to leave at 6 a.m. like Chad and Stuart and our pod did. So Stricker and I were able to sleep in a little bit, but we left at like 8 o'clock or something. So wasn't too bad.
Luke, we're gonna kind of finish out this episode with some of these fun questions. You guys threw some challenging questions at me when I was a guest on your podcast, Clubs and Corks, but I definitely want to. I'm going to make it a little bit easier on you guys. So, Luke, we'll start with you. Who has been your least favorite guest on Clubs and Corks?
You.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that to
No,
you.
you.
No. What's been your favorite episodes thus far?
Yikes! I would probably say Jason Day was one of them. Ricky Elliott, just because those were our first two, and just Ricky caddied for Ben, so it's kind of really funny stories. I think all of them have been. I've enjoyed all of them, to be honest with you. I'd interview any of them again. The maybe my least favorite, honestly, was Hal Irwin. Hale Irwin.
Oh
Can't
my
say his
God.
name right.
I can't
I can't say
believe
his name.
I can't
You know
believe
what
you
it
keep
is?
screwing that up.
I get confused with Hal Sutton. Hale Irwin. I mean, we had some funny stories with him. Like, I asked him who's the one player he wanted to tackle, and he's like, he didn't know how to answer. He's like, I've never been asked that before, but he was a good football player in college.
Yeah. Ben, what? Obviously, you got a lot of names and numbers in your Rolodex as Luke.
No, he
said.
doesn't.
All right,
No, he
so
doesn't.
I try not to step on the question here, Luke. So, Ben, what is the one guest that if you pick up the phone, you're going to be a little bit nervous to ask that person to be a guest on the podcast? What's the one that you're going to be like, all right, I got this guy's number. All I got to do is call and ask, but
Is it somebody that's in my phone book now?
It could be in your
or
phone book,
just-
or just you can get the number. You know that you're able to. You can do the ask.
I think, and you interviewed him because I remember when we had the conversation, but like Nicholas,
Okay.
obviously, I knew him a little bit just because of the Bears Club and being from Ohio and Memorial and stuff like that. But to sit down and do a conversation with him like that that'd be pretty nerve wracking, right? I mean, the best player of all time. And
Can you imagine my intro?
yeah.
I can.
I would
there's
be
no.
I'd be like, Luke, we're doing the intro
Jack
on
Nicklaus.
our own.
I'll just say Jack
without
Nicklaus.
him. We'll just say, hey, we have Jack Nicklaus with us. I'll do the intro later like you just doing, Ben, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll do it later and we'll move on and just get right into the interview. But yeah, somebody like him. I mean, obviously, if Bush was a big golfer and somebody like that, but obviously he's not coming on the show. But
Why not?
I mean, if you had somebody like that, or the commissioners of the tours, those would be kind of nerve wracking. But there's nobody that makes you feel too uncomfortable. It's just nerves, in a good way a lot of time.
Yeah.
But
I'll ask this one to both of you. You have the opportunity to go on location, Clubs and Corks on location. And yes, you need to bring the Claret Jug with you. But any place in the world you can go for just set up camp for a week and do episodes, where would you take Clubs and Corks on location?
I'm going to answer for Ben. Napa Valley.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
That's pretty. Do you really want to go to a golf?
Bordeaux.
Do you really want to go to a golf tournament for a week? Honestly, you don't.
no, I mean, I
think
could
so.
sit at like Pebble and do it, but not golf week wide,
Right.
not during a tournament. But,
Yeah.
if you were setting up on one of the rooms overlooking 18 at Pebble would be pretty good. Just sitting on the balcony to interview people.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be kind of nice too.
We
But-
tried, I think we'll try to go to the Fortinet one of these days. Take the wives and do.
Is that
do
the
it.
Napa one?
Yeah,
the Napa
that's,
one,
yeah, that's the. I think that'd be right.
Yeah,
up
that
your
was
alley.
his. Mine would probably be Masters because I've never been, or the British Open, which I still haven't been to. Thanks, man.
Wow.
You can go. I don't care. You can still go. I'm not stopping
Ben might be able to get you a ticket too. Ben might be able to get you tickets.
No. Ryder Cup, and he promised he'd do this for 4 more years, so he can get the media pass. No, he said don't want the Ryder Cup. Okay, I'll pass it on.
Take the Masters.
The Masters, okay. Or the British Open, okay.
All right. Speaking of the Masters, this one is to both of you. This is one of the old questions that I used to have during the Quick Bucket back in the early episodes. I would ask this one. Actually, I had to change it because he went ahead and did win the 5th green jacket. But Jack in '86 or Tiger's 5th green jacket, what is the more substantial victory? Exactly.
Yeah, Jack. I think Jack 86.
Tiger hadn't played for like years.
Yeah, but Tiger was only 40.
How old was Jack Nicklaus?
40.
Jack was 46 and Tiger was 42.
But the thing about Jack, he was like 6 shots back, right?
And he was playing with Persimmon Woods, wasn't he?
Who are we talking about?
86?
86, he was playing with, oh gosh, who was he?
Was he playing with Persimmon or no?
No, he was.
Seve.
No, it wasn't Seve. It was, oh, darn it. Now, how do I not
know? 86?
But he was
wasn't
not.
Irwin, was it?
No, but he was several shots back, correct?
Yeah, he shot 30 on the
Tiger
back.
Was right there in the hunt if he didn't have the lead. He wasn't like come storming back, but just what he did on those back 9 was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I want to say he was playing with Sandy Lyle, but I'm having a little bit of a brain fart on that one right now.
Yeah, me too.
Final question. You can give a major championship to anyone in history, alive or dead, man or woman. You can give a major championship. Ben, you already have one, so you can keep yours. But you can give a major championship to anyone. Who'd you give it to?
Give one.
Give one.
Like physically give.
Well,
like,
no,
you won this, or
you put it on their record. I mean, it's not like they just get it; it's unofficial. I'm saying anyone in history. Do you want to give do you want to give Spieth the PGA to clean up the Slam? Do you want to give Rory the Masters to clean up the Slam? Do you want to give Arnie the U.S. Open? Something like that. Who would you? And you can't pick those 3 because I just made it easy for you. So
right.
Well, I would have picked Rory, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you want to give Rory the Masters?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great question. I think I give it to Freddie Jacobsen or John Rollins, just
because they're buddies.
Our buddies.
Yeah, and they were close. Yeah,
and they didn't win a major, and they had a good chance to. So I'd probably say one of those 2 guys. Maybe we'll challenge him. Who texts me first? That's who I would give it to.
You do that. Yeah.
So hopefully, well, hey, see who listens to this podcast. So see if any of them listen.
John Rollins might.
Freddie probably.
I'll give you a Masters. I want to give Ben Curtis a Masters. I think that'd be cool.
Wow, boy! I'll tell you what. This is a guy that wants to go to a Ryder Cup.
I just gave him the middle finger. What?
No, I don't want. No, I don't need it. I don't ask him for anything. You'd be surprised. I don't ask him to get me on courses or anything. I don't like it. It is what it is. But I think it would be cool to see, because then he could just wear his green jacket and we could have Bernice in the back. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So so we're going to get you guys out of here. Talk to me a little bit more about Clubs and Corks. What's kind of the plan for the rest of the year? There is no off season in the podcast game. So what are the kind of things
Speak for yourself?
Well, at least for me, there's not. I don't know about you guys, but no. But what are you guys looking for the rest of the year? And maybe some of the things you have lined up, goals for 2022. Talk to me a little bit more about what you guys have going on, and then also let my listeners know exactly how to listen to your podcast. I know you have a Patreon comment. Talk to me a little bit about what goes on there.
So
go ahead.
So kind of the goals is just to finish up. We've got a couple episodes already filmed or recorded. Probably this off season get some more of the current PGA Tour pros, I would think, because it's probably be a little bit easier. Just keep it going every week. You can listen to it on all the podcasts, obviously platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Subscribe, rate, and review. Right, as Ben says, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Ben puts it thumbs up. YouTube, we got the YouTube channel. Then we have the Patreon site, which we've got some neat stuff. We're going to put in. I keep telling them, Ben, we got to get some tips on there. They don't want tips from me. They want tips from you. So we've got that, and that's growing slowly but surely, but probably just keep it going and
I think
having fun with it.
Just see what wide range of guests we can get. I think that's the fun part, right? Talking to people that all walks of life and within the golf industry, or even wine lovers that are into golf, just, exploring that, and just, I think that's the fun part, and just talking to everybody differently. And, like when we had you on there, right? I didn't really know much about what you were doing, and now
he still doesn't.
No, now that I do, and I think it's really cool, right?
Right.
I mean, you can see where amateur golf and junior golf has gone, right? It's much more visible thanks to people like you and what you do, and I think it's really cool that just talking to all these different guests and stuff. So that's what I like, and I think just keep building on it and just trying to keep it fresh, and try to be as relevant as we can with the events, around the majors. We kind of try to do some stuff regards to those tournaments, maybe do like a little preview where we kind of give our thoughts on and banter, and kind of like, oh, who do we think is going to win, and who do we have a chance. So that's kind of fun, and stuff like that.
Awesome. Luke, I'm going to give you the last word before we sign off. Tell me again what wine should I, all right, perfect way to end this. We've talked a lot about golf. What, I need to buy some wine for Christmas gifts. I'm an idiot with regards to wine. Help me get into help me buy a couple bottles of wine. What do you recommend?
All right.
Or not just me, but for listeners. For listeners, they're in this
best
spot.
Advice. Yeah. The best advice I can give you is give them a bottle. Don't give them a box.
Give them a bottle. Don't give them a box.
Boom.
Done. All right. Gentlemen, it was fun. I greatly appreciate it. I will.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Sorry. Hey, just no more box wine.
No more box wine. Okay, perfect. I will definitely make sure that show notes or the link to your episodes at Clubs and Corks are going to be in the show notes of this episode. All listeners at the Back of the Range, go check out Ben Curtis, go check out Luke Taylor, and appreciate you guys stopping by the Back of the Range.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Best of luck. Thank you.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Luke Taylor, Ben Curtis for joining me on this episode of the Back of the Range. Make sure you check out their podcast, Clubs and Corks, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you listen to your podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember, this episode and every episode is available at thebackoftherange.com. We'll see you next time here at the Back of the Range.